Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Now, the left diaper-wearing crybabies are going after our beloved Mount Rushmore and demanding that President Trump not go there on the 4th of July. I don't know about you, but I've had enough. Spank these little brats and send them home. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. America! And we need a patriot this morning to call in with a Pledge of Allegiance more than ever. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell on this Tuesday morning, the last Tuesday, and as a matter of fact, the last day of the month of June. And good morning on our major sponsor, of course, with us, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Very safe, clean environment, and the best in tires and service to your vehicles. Stop in and see them today. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to this republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, my friend. Well done. Thank you very, very much. Time for the weather. And, of course, brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway, offering the best tools and equipment on a rental basis, long and short term. They've got everything over there. Have you driven by and seen their front yard? Oh, boy, they've got everything you need. Water lines, your rototillers, they've got it all at K&R Rental. Not sure what you need? We'll call Roger and talk to him. 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Few scattered rain showers for today, then by tomorrow and for the rest of the week, it's going to be warming up. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms off and on throughout today. We are expecting mostly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 30 miles an hour. Tonight, that's going to be tapering off. Still going to be a little bit breezy with a low of 45. Tomorrow, sunny skies and highs right around 74. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. By Thursday, sunny skies and mid-80s for Friday, and looks like close to 90 for 4th of July Saturday. That's what's your weather forecast for Zephyr.
Thank you very much, Gina, and appreciate it. K&R Rental, Roger and the crew on the Burley-Paul Highway, and you be sure and get a hold of them today and talk to them about all the tools and equipment you need to finish any kind of a project. They are absolutely there to serve you. K&R Rental, 678-3122. Caller, I'll be right there. You're going to have to bear with me just a quick second. I want to remind everybody about Daryl's Cleaners at 1220 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You know, a lot of people may not be familiar with them, and I hope you get to know them because they are the best at what they do and keeping your clothes really looking and feeling good. Absolutely. The very best of dry cleaning. And if you don't have time to do the washing, they will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes just like Mama used to at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Great folks. Be sure, and if you have questions, give them a call, 878-8900, Daryl's Cleaners. And a real quick note, some other folks that have been riding the horse with us for a long time, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric. I can't say enough about them because they're just absolutely so good at what they do. And the proof's in the pudding. They've been in operation almost 7 decades with the best of people and the best of service to you. For all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. The best, Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Zeb. You know, this last weekend we had 2 big events in the Burley area, the regatta and tractor pulls. Now, both of these events bring people from all over the western United States, and there is no social. It's a very social thing, and there's no protection against it. I know of. My grandson, he went to both events. You know, he's a very social person, probably associates with a lot of people. But why can't we go to church?
Yeah. Don't even get me started on that this morning. I'm not going to have anybody tell me that you can say you can go to a big box store, regardless of the name, and I'm not going to mention names, and you can go shopping. You can go here, you can go there. You can absolutely join a mob and terrorize, burn, and loot, and that seems to be all right, but you can't go to church. There's something wrong with this picture. It's idiocy personified, let me tell you.
Well, I just wanted to get you stirred.
Well, you did, but there's another story I'm going to get into right now that's got me even madder than that. And right after I do a commercial break, I'm going to lay it on you. And stay tuned, all right, my friend? Thank you for your call.
I will do that.
All right. Appreciate it. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service. Oh, they do the job that you and I don't want to do. You don't want to take a nice sunny afternoon, and well, which I don't know if we're going to have today, but we might have tomorrow, and stand out there pumping a septic tank. Oh, no. Or sewer and sink drain line cleaning. No, you don't want to do that either. They do. They do, and they are the best at what they do. Liquid waste removal, septic inspections, water and sewer lines installed, all of this at Dino's Septic Service. Nice people, too. Really good folks. Fast, fair, friendly service. How do I know? Because they've done work for us. They are tops. 436-6526, the number to call, or 678-1638. Don't forget, with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way, Dino's Septic Service. Really, really good folks. Sean, I'm trying to think of your name there for a minute. I was lost. I was coming up with Neil, Fred, Jim, whatever. Sean, could we please have the good word for the Silver State Stampede?
Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, roars into the Elko County Fairgrounds July 10, 11, and 12. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders going head-to-head in one of the world's toughest sports, rodeo. The action kicks off Friday evening with a delicious tri-tip dinner for just $10. Old West bronc riding, mutton busting, PRCA rodeo action, and the always popular Ring of Fear. Dance the night away to the music of the Moonshine Outlaws. And on Saturday, show your support with Tough Enough to Wear paint. Round out the weekend with Family Day Sunday evening. The best family entertainment this side of the Rio Grande. The Silver State Stampede, July 10, 11, and 12 at the Elko County Fairgrounds. The Silver State Stampede will be following all of the Nevada governor's directives, Nevada United Roadmap to Recovery Plan, as well as the CDC guidelines. The safety of everyone is our top priority.
I want to get into this next story, and I'm going to tell you right up front, I am extremely upset about this story, and I think all of us as Americans that honor and love our country and what our country is should be upset. To the point of, I've joked about this in the past, picking up pitchforks like American Gothic and parading down any avenue to get rid of the left. The Democrats and the left, the liberal left, are blasting, absolutely blasting this morning, President Trump on his plans to attend a historic display of patriotism at Mount Rushmore this 4th of July. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never been to Mount Rushmore and looked at, of course, the heads carved in the stone of our nation's forefathers, and I want to stop right there and ask you out in the audience, are you perfect? Have you done no harm, no foul? Nothing wrong in your life, that you're Simon Pure and you can stand in front of everybody and go, I'm better than you because I'm perfect. Well, nobody can. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, nobody can. But to denigrate and try to tear down all of our monuments by people that really put their blood, sweat, and tears into the growth of this country, and now they're going after Mount Rushmore, I fear for Mount Rushmore. I do. I don't trust the left. I think they're crazed maniacs that need, like I said yesterday, and I'm not going to back off on this, they need a bloody nose. But to go after the president for attending a 4th of July ceremony and fireworks at Mount Rushmore, and here's what the Democratic National Committee said. Now he's, referring to Trump, now he's holding a rally glorifying white supremacy at Mount Rushmore. White supremacy! A region once sacred to the tribal communities. Folks, if we don't stop this nonsense, this idiocy, what kind of a country are we going to be left with? And here's one of the tweets that came from the Democrats. Quote, Trump has disrespected Native communities time and again. He's attempted to limit their voting rights and block critical pandemic relief. Now he's holding a rally glorifying white supremacy at Mount Rushmore, a region once sacred to tribal communities. This is a bunch of you-know-what, barnyard fecal material. And we're letting them get away with it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Quickly.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. With the damage that has been done in the billions and billions of dollars, martial law should have been implemented to crush these people before it got out of hand. This thing has gone far enough, and it will not stop until this country is brought to its knees, and this country will be ripe to be overtaken by any Marxist country in the world that wants it.
I've never seen anything like this, and I had a call the other day, last week, as a matter of fact, on my cell phone, and they said, oh, come on, Zeb, it ain't that bad. I said, are you crazy? It's worse than what you think it is. The naivete of people is just absolutely astounding to me, Tony. I mean, we're sitting here in southern Idaho, a very conservative area, thank God for that. And we're so naive, we think, oh, well, what's happening in Chicago? What's happening in Minneapolis? What's happening in any other part of trouble, New York, you name it? Oh, well, that's over there. Well, listen up here, buckaroos and buckarettes. It very possibly can start here because we're seeing marches in support for the hideous Black Lives Matter right here in our backyard.
Well, if we don't get together and start making some noise together, we're going to get overrun. We can't do anything sitting at home.
Tony, have you ever been to Mount Rushmore?
I've seen it many, many times, and my big concern about it is that unless that place is well guarded,
yes,
it's going to be damaged one way or the other.
No, I totally agree with you, and I am absolutely worried that the left and their crazies are going to do something that's going to destroy this national monument. When you say Mount Rushmore, I mean, man, everybody that knows anything about history or anything about our country, they can relate to it. And one of the GOP spokespeople spoke out and said, if you support America's founding and our heroes throughout history, you're now glorifying white supremacy? Are you kidding me? This is insane. Historically illiterate nonsense. When will Joe Biden condemn his own party's hatred of America? And that's the truth. The damn Democrats are not doing anything to speak out about this violence and the stupidity.
Well, unless we get rid of Nancy Pelosi and her lapdog Schumer and Cortez and the rest of that bunch, this country is going to be financially destroyed. We're going to find ourselves on our knees. Martial law is going to have to be implemented to put a stop to this.
I agree. And I'll still go back and say that the left is going to have to suffer some bloody noses. Tony, God bless you and Mary. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Okay, Zeb.
All right.
Bye.
You know, Mount Rushmore? I mean, come on. Well, you people ought to be outraged about this. Everybody ought to be outraged about this. Mount Rushmore, a symbol of our great American country, the United States of America. And these nincompoops, these insane left dribbles, are condemning the president and saying that by him going there, he's glorifying white supremacy. I'm sick and tired as a Caucasian, a white male, of being denigrated by these jerks. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
They hung up.
Oh, darn. Calls welcome 436-2244. I'll do a commercial, and then maybe they'll call back. Want to remind everybody about Denny's Restaurant. You know, really, before I get started on this, I'm not going to weaken on this, folks. No. I'm not going to be cowardly at all. These people that are on the left that are causing these problems and absolutely destroying our country, we're going to talk a little bit about Seattle. In a few minutes, I'm going to talk about a couple in St. Louis afraid for their lives and nobody helping them. What are we going to do? Call Ghostbusters? This is insane. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. I urge you to stop in and eat at America's Diner. Delicious food, really nice people. Thomas, Michelle, the whole staff. I mean, man, they go overboard to make sure you enjoy your eating experience right there with them. They care. They've got the best of menu choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts. You're going to love it. Stop in and see Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and the other location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. You better believe it. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, serving you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody that said, wow, we're going to take the kids and we're going to go see Mount Rushmore. And now, all of a sudden, because of these goons on the left, and somebody's going to say, well, you can't call them names. Yes, I'll call them any name I want to, because they have reached the point of not having any respect from me whatsoever. These goons on the left are saying that it's white supremacy to go to Mount Rushmore? Don't forget what's going on this week at, of course, the 2020 4th of July celebration in Rupert. Now, right now, as we speak, they are still eating pancakes and enjoying, right on the city square, the Christmas lighting breakfast. Oh, my. And then, of course, today they're going to be having all kinds of fun with a car show, and they're going to have the Sounds of Freedom tonight as entertainment in the park. And then at 7:30 p.m., featured performer Yeagertown, and then later on tonight, the fireworks. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Always is. Tomorrow, don't forget, July 1st, they're going to have more patriotic programs and music by the Eclectics. Don't forget that. All a part of your 4th of July celebration in Rupert. Please, with the big theme, Rockin' in the USA. Be sure and stop over to Rupert and enjoy Independence Day, 4th of July. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just can't believe that these people, and I use the term people loosely because I don't even think they're human beings, can come out with this idiocy of condemnation and calling President Trump a white supremacist for going to Mount Rushmore on the 4th of July. What a fitting place. What a fitting place with the flags, the red, white, and blue, and the music, and the national anthem, and the figureheads of our presidents up at Mount Rushmore. And then President Trump addressing the crowd and the fireworks on the 4th of July. What a fitting place. And now the Democrats have turned it into a sleaze by saying that Trump is glorifying white supremacy. What are your... Come on, speak out on this. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here's something else to mull over. In many cities, right now this morning, that are really considering, and some are doing it, like Minneapolis, voting to disband and defund the police. When you call 911 in the future, you may very well hear the following tape. You have dialed a number no longer in service. If this is an emergency, you'd better be ready to fend for yourself and your safety. That's what it's coming to. And I'll talk about that St. Louis story in just a moment. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Do you know what's on the other side of Mount Rushmore?
Go ahead. Pardon me?
Do you know what's on the west side of Mount Rushmore?
I don't think I've ever been over on that side.
Okay, it is a big statue carved in the mountain of Chief Crazy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. You lost me there for a minute. I'm sorry. You're 100% right. Chief Crazy Horse, yes.
You don't hear nothing about Chief Crazy Horse or anything like that.
Well, you do, because now they forget about the tribute to Chief Crazy Horse. You forget about, because you're told not to remember, all that was done in regards to respect for the tribes and Chief Crazy Horse. But yet it's easier to denigrate the president and say white supremacy if you go to Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been to Mount Rushmore many, many times. I was born 150 miles to the north of Mount Rushmore.
Oh, really?
And I'm very familiar with it. Fact is, I've been underneath Mount Rushmore and looked right up the nose of George Washington.
Well, that's a pleasant thought to think about.
It is. I mean, it's neat. It's wonderful.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to ask you, you live back there, and I have been there on a couple of occasions, but when I got there, I was struck with I guess the best way to say this, and you've been there, you can help me, the closeness, if you will, the proximity of the faces, and it's not as luminous and huge as I thought it would be. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, yeah. Chief Crazy Horse is bigger.
Yeah.
His arm stretched out is from his shoulder to his fingertips is 365 feet.
But you know the structure, if you will, of Mount Rushmore and paying tribute to the presidents that are our country's forefathers. And I said this earlier this morning, and I want you to respond to this. Maybe you are, but I'm not. I'm not a perfect person. I never claimed to be a perfect person. There has never been a perfect person except Jesus Christ himself. And I'm sick and tired of the left telling you and me what we can have and what we can't have as remembrances to our past.
Amen to that. I'm with you 100%. It's time we, as Americans, wake up and take things in hand and say, okay, this is it.
Amen. Hey, sir, thank you. And by the way, you have to be a tough individual if you could live back there in the wintertime. That's cold.
Oh, it's not bad.
Okay.
I was born and raised there, so, you know.
All right. Well, God bless you, man, for your call. Call more often. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a happy 4th.
I will, sir. God bless you. Thanks. Caller, I'll be right with you. I've just got to get this one commercial in, and I'm sorry to make you wait. Hold on, please. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. They have all the inventory of the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes that you might need. Oh, you don't know how to run one? No problem. They'll teach you. They got a big sandbox out behind. Absolutely. They've got all the Bobcats and the trenchers and the scissor lifts, and they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators. Great financing programs, great lease programs. Woo! What are you waiting for? Stop into 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. Yep. For Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, thank you for your call. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb, you know, that whole area around there is very densely forested, right?
Yes.
And how do you fortify something like that? It's almost impossible. Say, some of these kooks have a real long-range rocket launcher or something, and it's just going to be real difficult to make it safe.
I don't know, and I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to give some kook out there listening, now that we're heard all over the country and the world for that matter. I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but Keith, you're 83 years old, we've talked about that, and you're basically a little older than I am, but not that much when you consider years and experiences and everything else. I've never seen America with the left movement stoop as low as it is right now in calling anybody that goes to white or Mount Rushmore a white supremacist. You and I ought to be outraged over that. I am.
I am too. You know, that is a true work of art. That is just a magnificent setting for the United States of America.
I can't even imagine. I'm holding a picture of it right now. I am. I can't even imagine the artwork on the stone. The faces are absolutely perfect. I mean, you can tell immediately Washington, and you can tell immediately Lincoln. I mean, it's absolutely, the artwork just astounds me.
I think it's probably one of the monuments that people stare at for hours.
Yeah.
Because it's just so magnificent. I can't even describe it.
But I think you're right, and I'll stand behind and right beside you on this, that the crazies are right now in this country, they're taking advantage of not being slapped in the face. They're taking advantage of being allowed to be lawless. They're taking advantage of knowing the police aren't going to do anything. They're taking advantage of the situation with the media. And some group of us, the people, have got to step up and say, okay, enough is enough.
Well, the other thing I was thinking of, if I remember right, it's been several years since I've been there, but this is not going to allow much of an audience when the president's there.
I don't think they're looking at audience. I don't think they're looking at rally. I don't think they're looking at anything but a very nice tribute, of going to the very historic, well-known monument of Mount Rushmore and the flag, the national anthem. I mean, what better setting? What better setting for America on America's birthday would that be? I can't think of a better setting.
What bad things can the rest of the media think of to blame him for with this wonderful event.
Yeah. I'm just enraged that we have let these crazies do as much as they have. Keith, God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This next story kind of goes right along with the kooks and the crackpots and the diaper-wearing crybabies on the left. And when I saw this on television, I could not believe it. I could not believe what happened in St. Louis on Sunday. I'm going to get to that in a minute, I promise. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, dear, happy 4th of July to you. You know what I think? President Trump can go wherever he wants, and the Democrats can go to hell, as far as I'm concerned. And I think I think they need to step up, put the military in there, and protect those monuments and everything. And by hell, if they got to shoot them and kill them, shoot them and kill them. This is terrible.
Well, what's going on in our society? What right do they have to take any statue, any monument away from you or I or any other American, saying that, well, they were imperfect, well, they did this and they said that years ago? Look at the case of John Wayne. They want to take down his name from the airport in California, to which I've flown into many times, the John Wayne Airport, because he made a comment 50 years ago in an interview about what he thought when he was asked about race relations. And to be quite honest with you, what he said was not inappropriate at that time at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's still appropriate for today. But I am sick and tired of every name change, because there are no perfect people, Bob. And I'm not going to make light of this. It's absolutely insane what these people are doing, and they've got to be stopped.
That's right, and I think it's time the military is called in, or whatever it takes, and let's get it done.
I agree. I'm fed up with this. All right, Bob, thank you. Yeah, I don't care if it's the National Guard. I don't care if you have to hire protection to stand around these things 24/7. That's enough. That's enough. This couple in St. Louis, they're sitting in their backyard on private property. Hang on, caller. I'll be right with you. I promise. I've got to get this in. They are enjoying their lunch on their lawn in a gated community. Remember that. In a private gated community. When a mob of Black Lives Matter crash through and tear down the private gate, and they start coming on their property, the couple's property, and they say, we're going to kill you and your dog. The man goes into the house, gets a rifle, and with his wife standing behind him on the steps of their property, they yell and scream at the mob to get away from their property or else. Now the stupid, brainless twit that is the prosecuting attorney in that area says she may go after the husband and wife for trying to incite violence. What? These punks were on private property. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'm sorry to change your subject. I was going to tell you about Mount Rushmore, that a few years back my husband and I went on a trip there, and I'm telling you, you talked about maybe 3 hours looking at that monument. We walked back and forth, looked over it and around it and under it, and then you stand back and you go from one side to the other, and it looks like their eyes are following you.
Yeah.
It looks like they're trying to say hello.
Yes.
I mean, it just gave us goosepimples while we were watching it. It was wonderful. We went down to see Crazy Horse, but he wasn't finished yet. They told us that they ran out of money.
Yeah.
And so we never did get to see the finished, if it's finished or not.
Well,
it still was beautiful also.
It's been years and years and years since I've been there. But what you just said is something that is, it's worthy of talking a little bit more about. When you said you went to different angles and looked up at the faces and that the eyes seemed like they were looking at you, even with this picture that I'm holding in my hand, you get the same feeling.
Yeah, it does. But standing in front of it, the sun was shining. It just gave you goosebumps. But you were sure you had to stop and wait because they were ready to talk. You're not rude to walk away if they're going to talk to you.
Let me ask you.
Anyways, that's what...
No, wait a minute. I want to ask you a question. Don't hang up.
Okay.
What about this insanity? What are you and your husband and anybody else going to do or say or jump in the fray when you have idiots, complete buffoons on the left saying that it's now white supremacy to honor Mount Rushmore? What are we going to do to stop this insanity?
I started crying the other day when they started saying that. They just can't do it. I think they ought to take one of those big army barges and tell them they're going to get a free ride and put them on it and take them out, and hopefully it sinks real easy and get rid of them. You can't go out and shoot them because you're going to get hung and I'll get hung, but they're terrible, and it's just awful, and it's such a beautiful... Everything's been beautiful, and they're just ruining it. They went to the church and brought down that beautiful statue yesterday.
Yeah.
And it just gives you goosebumps to see how beautiful that Mount Rushmore is.
But the reason
when it was like mid-afternoon when the sun was really bright, it seemed like by the time we got ready to leave, it was getting kind of dusky, and the different colors that went on that monument, those stones would change a little bit. You have to go see it because it's beautiful.
Absolutely, and I hope it stays. I hope it stays that way. I want to thank you for calling and sharing that with us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
God bless you. What a nice lady. You and that's the attitude right there.
Bye-bye.
She was there, saw it at twilight with the different rays of sunshine hitting upon the foreheads of our former forefathers of this great nation. And now the left is coming out and saying that by President Trump being there on the 4th of July, that is glorifying white supremacy. I don't know what to say. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller, quickly. Caller, if you're there, talk to me or hang up the phone, one or the other. I can't wait. Are you there?
Sorry, Zeb. You're just real distant.
Well,
anyway,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Mount Rushmore is one of my favorite places on the planet. I grew up in southeast Wyoming, and where everybody went down to Colorado, Rockies, we would take our family and went up to the Black Hills. And if you've never been to the Black Hills, it's a fascinating, there's a spiritual feeling about the Black Hills. And Mount Rushmore, I was there a couple of years ago, and I've been there probably 6 or 7 times at least. And I can guarantee you, those great patriots that are up there on Mount Rushmore, I mean, they dedicated their lives. They put through a lot of sacrifice, particularly Jefferson and Washington and Lincoln and Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt certainly had a place to be there as well. And but for them to call that white supremacy is just unbelievable. And this is where our culture is going, and unless we take a strong stand against it, Zeb, they're tearing down those statues. And my mother's family came here in 1636. I'm actually related to George Washington. So that's why I feel so sad, extremely sad, that they're tearing down these monuments to these great patriots that sacrificed, gave their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And George Washington, I mean...
Yeah, Adrian, I don't have time for a history lesson, and I appreciate every remark you make, and I agree with you, but I want to get back to the crux of the problem. What are we going to do to stop this insanity? And I'm telling you, it's going to have to be forceful. What do you suggest we do? Don't go on, just give me an answer there.
Well, the governor's got to have some bones, backbone, and if they don't, of course, the governor... South Dakota, she was on TV last night. They they've had the state wide open. They have the same number of deaths as Idaho has, and yet they've been practically wide open in allowing businesses to function almost normally. And but no, to answer your question, it's just they're going to have to be forced. We can't just let these people go on. But I think they're starting to prosecute people that are tearing down these statues, and that's what I heard last. And they need to now they're.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Adrian, wait. You're a sharp guy. You're a PhD. You know, prosecution is fine, but the crime's already done after the fact and the destruction's already taken place. We've got to make sure this stops now before any more destruction.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. And then, so if the states need to call out the National Guard to basically, but see, this is the whole problem. The governors, if they don't want to do anything, it leaves it really in a tough situation, because I know Trump does not want to bring out federal troops to guard these monuments or to take care of these people, because the governors have that right. And I think our governor would, but some of these liberals...
Well, wait a minute. Let me jump in here and say something. Kristi Noem, the governor of that area, absolutely is a woman not to be messed with. She has a lot of cowboy territory and heritage in her background, and I'm going to tell you something right now. I know people that know her very well. I don't think she's going to bend and allow anything to happen.
Oh, no, as far as that monument's concerned, I just wish I had the opportunity to be there. I just really would love to be there. I've been there so many times, and it's just, if people haven't been there to Mount Rushmore, put it on your bucket list and get over there.
I agree. I'm late on my weather forecast right now. I've got to get it on. Adrian, God bless you, man, for your thoughts this morning. I appreciate it. Thank you. Caller number 2, I've got to get this weather in here, and I'll take your call in about 60 seconds. Stand by, please. Weather forecast brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Hello, Dr. Christine Pickup and the staff. Wonderful people that know all about hearing health. And if you've noticed a diminishment in your hearing, you better call for a hearing screening today. Mount Harrison Audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call to make an appointment, 312-0957. Please take care of it. Don't let it go. They can help, and they will help at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Here's Gina with the weather.
Few scattered rain showers for today, then by tomorrow and for the rest of the week, it's going to be warming up. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms off and on throughout the day. We are expecting mostly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 30 miles an hour. Tonight, that's going to be tapering off. Still going to be a little bit breezy with a low of 45. Tomorrow, sunny skies and highs right around 74. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. By Thursday, sunny skies and mid-80s for Friday, and looks like close to 90 for 4th of July, Saturday. That's what's your weather forecast for Zephyr.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957, and they provide expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology for your hearing health. Give them a call, 312-0957. Caller, you have been so patient. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thanks for taking the call, Zeb. The answer to your question is this. These people, that's being kind, I'm just a kind guy. These people going around destroying our property, the property of the United States of America, are domestic terrorists.
Yes.
And we, the people, need to do like our brothers did up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. When you know there's a group coming to town, you go to town and you say, not here. And it needs to be stopped. Our government is too political. Depends what city you're in. It all comes down to a mayor or a governor that's going to protect us. The only thing the government is required to protect us is our liberties. They're not required to protect us from a scamdemic, and this is getting so far out of hand, but it's time. We, the people, have to start doing something. We can't, this isn't watching a movie anymore.
Yes.
We can't say, oh, what are they going to do today? Well, when people are tearing down, I don't care. Are they going to stand for it if we're tearing down Muhammad? Or what if we're celebrating Martin Luther King? Is that promoting black superiority? Come on. But we're so politicized and taken over, but that's where we're at.
Absolutely.
Waiting for the government to do something and waiting for some bar or some prosecutor to prosecute somebody, that's not solving anything.
I think that what you said in a very eloquent and very articulate fashion is exactly what has to happen, and I hope it does happen. I am sick and tired of having these crazed maniacs tell me what I can observe and what I can look at. And like I said a moment ago, there are no perfect people. None ever on the face of the earth. And for them, the Black Lives Matter or Antifa, to tell me that we have to take down this statue, or we have to burn this, we have to loot this, or we have to destroy Mount Rushmore, enough is enough.
Well, it's not a matter of good and bad. It's a matter of what's right and wrong.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're at. I never thought I would see it in my lifetime, but we are at a point, some of us, it's different everywhere you are. We're a little safer here, but we are at a point in time where we have to decide whether we're going to stand up or we're going to just become more enslaved than we've ever known it.
I could not have said it any better, and I thank you for your call this morning, and I mean that very seriously. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're very welcome. He's right. He's right. We're going to have, and okay, here we go. This is going to cause the old emails to start flowing. We're going to have a civil war in this country. We're going to have a civil war to get back to decency and lawfulness. Not lessness, lawfulness. We got to do it, folks. And when you see the Seattle chief of police standing there, and I saw this on the news yesterday, standing there almost with tears in her eyes, knowing that her and her department have their hands tied behind them by a silly, stupid mayor that doesn't know Khmer from Sikkim, and there's people being shot on the streets in Chop in Seattle, and the cops can't do anything. This is lunacy. We are going to have to take this matter in hand. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. A lot of this is just playing exactly into the playbook of the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi stated once that the whole plan is to do a smear campaign. If you tell the press a lie and let the press print it as if it's the truth, you build upon that and make it become bigger and bigger and bigger. This is what they're doing with all the statues, all the monuments. They're saying, oh my gosh, these guys are terrible people, when they in truth are not, because nobody's done the research on these people that are out there rioting, have not done their education. I don't know what their grades would have been in school, but obviously not much. And so they're buying into all the garbage. And meanness feeds upon meanness. Rioting feeds upon rioting. One of the things that we can do if our country can survive long enough is not to vote one Democrat back in.
I agree.
Not one. But we have to be able to take the stand and say, just like was mentioned in one of the other callers that did up in Coeur d'Alene, if you know they're coming here, you form a line and say, not in my town, move on. Caller, it's got to depend on civil people like you and me and others and that caller to say what's right and what's wrong has got to prevail. We've got to put wrong down, and the denigration and degradation of our society is at stake. Absolutely. Yeah, we have to stand up for right or wrong will prevail. And we're seeing that right before our eyes.
Amen.
You know, I know that you are a scriptorian. I know most of your listeners are Christian, and it tells us right then and there in the scriptures, evil will become so prevalent, and people will listen to the lies if we don't stop it.
Amen.
And it's time. It's happening.
Caller.
You see the evil, and it's laughing in our faces.
Absolutely. I'm out of time. I wish I had 20 minutes more to talk to you, but I appreciate it. God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She is spot on, as all the callers have been this morning. We've got to do this, folks. I mean, somebody will say, well, that's vigilante justice, and you're taking the law into your own hands. Well, they're taking the law, and they're destroying everything. It comes time that we have to stop this insurrection of evil. And this is the time. I want to mention to you about our great major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And if you're getting ready for a trip, maybe to Mount Rushmore, I hope you are, that you'd better stop in for the best of tires for summertime travel. For your cars, pickups, SUVs, boat trailers, horse trailers, whatever. And don't forget their free pre-trip safety check. By golly, they want to make sure that you have a great trip and come home safely. Oh, and they've got the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, and all 7 locations are absolutely committed to your safe driving. So stop in and see any one of them today. Don't forget they've got the best of tires for you. James and Buell, Dan on Poline, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, howdy, and Trent on Overland in Burley, good old boy. All 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and great on-the-farm service, too. You be sure and get a hold of them today, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Going to take a break, be back in 7. God bless, we'll see you then. Oh, wow. How'd you like to wake up there in the Wood River Valley to 6 inches of snow? Merry Christmas to you. Woo! Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Stop in and see them today, along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And also Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, it's true, they are very community-oriented and serving you with the best of trash pickup a weekly basis. Get on the route service. Call them, 734-6969. I tell you, they can help you there, and they've got dumpsters in various sizes. If you're cleaning out the basement, the garage, the carport, whatever, they can help, and they will bring it over. You fill it up, they'll come and get it. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Sean, could we please have the good word for the Silver State Stampede?
The thunder of hooves, the thrill of the crowd, family entertainment at its best when the Silver State Stampede roars into Elko July 10, 11, and 12 at the Elko County Fairgrounds. Bring the family and enjoy 3 big days of PRCA rodeo action, along with the Old West bronc riding, mini bull riding, the Acapa Riders, mutton busting, the world-famous Ring of Fear, and dance the night away to the music of the Moonshine Outlaws. Get your advance tickets today at J.M. Capriola Company, IFA, the Boot Barn, Roy's, and the Elko Chamber of Commerce. The best in the West is waiting for you at the 2020 Silver State Stampede, July 10, 11, and 12. Don't miss it. For more information, visit us at silverstatestampede.com.
Thank you very much. And
we'll be following all of the Nevada governor's directives, Nevada United Roadmap to Recovery Plan, as well as the CDC guidelines. The safety of everyone is our top priority.
There you go. Now, Zeb, you can speak. Thank you very much. Don't forget our friends also at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and staff serving you and your family. They live right there, and they've got very flexible hours to serve you and provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. Always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to remember this number and call when there's a death in your family. Please let them help. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. It's Tuesday, and that means we get a chance to talk to the guru of energy with all of his vast knowledge, and we go to the phone line with the American Energy Alliance, my old buddy Dan Kish. How are you, Dan?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Listen, we said old. I don't even know how old you are. You might be a whole bunch younger than I am.
Well, I'm getting up there. So I'm in my early 60s.
Well, I got you topped by a whole bunch more. Let me tell you.
Bless you.
Dan, listen, one of the things that's never discussed, I very seldom ever hear anybody talk about this, when the Democrats say, well, we're going to go to green energy, we're going to do this, we're going to have wind, we're going to have solar, and then in California they impose upon the new building codes of saying they're all going to have solar panels, and everybody is urged not to drive cars with gasoline or diesel anymore. Why? Buy electric cars. You know, who's going to pay for all this? You know, the consumer is tapped out. Nobody ever talks about it from the consumer's point of view. Where are they going to get the money for all this?
Well, you know, it's a great question, Zeb, and actually it's very pertinent because the House of Representatives this week is going to be working on what they call their, quote, infrastructure bill, which is, you know, it's a highway bill, basically, but they've got this thing. It's not a highway bill. It's a green energy bill. Basically, they want to switch to all electric cars. I mean, they want to have all kinds of other things that push for this sort of thing. I mean, we're talking about artwork for along highways, and I mean, fix the roads, and that'll be just fine. Thank you very much. So that's where they're headed, and as a matter of fact, they're pushing for another. They've got another bill they're just announcing or releasing today that apparently calls for us to be all electric cars and trucks and vehicles by 2035. Cut carbon dioxide emissions by 88% by 2050. And after 2050, they want to actually take more carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. They're going to have super suckers that suck out carbon dioxide, which I'm sure China likes a lot because they're putting out huge amounts of carbon dioxide, and we'll end up, taxpayers will end up paying for super suckers to suck it out of the air. There's no mention about cows, but you can imagine where they stand on this whole situation. So it's all nonsense. Ultimately, the idea is to line the pockets of rich investors from Silicon Valley who import things from China, where they consume over half the world's coal, and make it into products that the government requires us to buy here at home, whether it's solar panels or the inverters that go with them or the parts for wind turbines or anything else. They control 95% of the essential minerals because they won't allow mining in this country. That's awful. We can't have that. So they're basically saying, okay, for decades we were dependent upon the Middle East for our oil and our energy security. God gave us this stuff under our feet and allowed us through hard work to discover how to produce it better than anybody else in the world, which we've done and made us number one in the world. And having solved that problem, the answer is to turn our energy security over to Red China and buy all our products from them, and then wonder when we're in their rearview mirror how we got there. It just makes no sense.
Dan, and over at the station, Sean, I've got a little bit of feedback there. If you could help me on that gain, thank you. Dan, you can sit out in front of your home, you can sit out in front of your business, and I know you'll agree with me that you're going to see a lot of 15-year-old vehicles, whether they are trucks, pickups, or cars, whatever. A lot of people are happy with maybe something they bought in 2005, and now it's 15 years old, still runs good, they don't have any payments, it's paid for, they're enjoying it. Well, if you project this down the road to 2035 from this day and this year, and they say they want all electric vehicles on the road, how is the bulk of the American public going to go to the bank, borrow the money, and pay ever-increasing rates on these electric cars? I mean, people are going to be transportation-less.
Oh, yeah, Zeb. I mean, they don't answer these kinds of questions. Those are reasonable questions that a logical, common-sense person would ask. They're pitching this to people who understand energy the way Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez understands energy. So it doesn't necessarily have to work. Just talking about it makes them feel good. And the whole goal of this sort of left-wing craziness, cut ourselves off at the knees approach is to make yourself feel better. It doesn't matter what it is, just, announce that without any background or history or anything else, you just announce that you're for something, and that makes you a good person, and you can wear that on your sleeve, and people will, throw floral leaves at you or something like that. I mean, that's basically what this amounts to. It's really become bread and circuses of the first order. These aren't realistic goals. They're just talking points.
Yeah.
And it goes to show how stupid they think the American public really is. They really do. They live in cities where they just kind of have mirror images of themselves, talk to people who they don't talk to people who make things or fix things or understand how things work. They just talk about it in terms that make themselves feel good. That's what it's all about. Feel good.
The one thing, we can talk about vehicles until we're blue in the face and the affordability or non-affordability of people not being able to have their own private transportation in the future. But what about buildings? What about office buildings? What about schools? What about our military? I mean, what about the transitional costs there? It's absolutely astronomical.
Oh, of course. I mean, the transition costs, the cost of operating once that happens. We've already seen California ban, some cities in California are banning natural gas if you use it to heat your home or water or use it on your range. Those things are no longer allowed in certain California counties. So people are going to have to, you may not like an electric range, you may prefer a gas range or a propane one, but you can't have that. You need to have an electric range. And that's the sort of thing that that they're talking about for imposing on the entire United States. It really makes you kind of wonder. I mean, we were established with limited government that wasn't supposed to be they talk about the government telling you what goes on in your bed, should keep its eyes out of the bedroom. They want to be in the kitchen. They want to be in your utility room. They want to be in the pipes coming into your house. It's pretty... I'll give them this. They're not shy about sticking their nose into everybody else's business, right down to the lowest, and they all think they can make this work from Washington, where it's something, Sam.
Well, Over 200 and some years ago, we had to poke King George in the eye and let him know that we didn't appreciate anything he was trying to impose on us and that we were going to be the bad child and break away. We may have to do the same thing again today if we've got the backbone. And that's what I wonder. What happened to the American backbone?
Well, I think, Zeb, I think it's still there. I think a lot of people don't want the hassle of speaking out because they're afraid to be, called something or something like that. I mean, the only guy that seems to talk about these things is Trump, and they vilify him for it. So what we've got are a lot of Americans who I think are sitting there watching all this happen and saying to themselves, well, I don't know. Of course, with a lot of these things, like boiling a frog, I mean, they slowly do it. They do it in California. They do it in other places. But it doesn't quite hit, and the price tag doesn't come due until a lot of this stuff is already implemented and they're down the road. They know that. They do this on purpose. It's all about hoodwinking us.
Yeah.
Because they think we're stupid. And believe me, along the way, they'll bump into some of them. They'll say, "Well, gee, where do we get all this stuff that we're, why do we have child slave labor basically digging up half the cobalt that goes into all these batteries and electric vehicles and all the rest of the stuff, controlled by China, Red China, and why are we doing all this stuff? We've got to stop that." So eventually, the goal is we're all going to walk.
Maybe you are, but I hope in my lifetime I'm not forced to it. I've been on crutches most of my life, and I don't savvy having to run and walk everywhere I have to go. Let me ask you about this. We're enjoying right now lower prices on petroleum products, whether it's gas or diesel. And I've urged my audience to get out this summer and travel, and see the great USA, just like the old Chevy commercials. And how long do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be after the election, depending on who wins, before all of a sudden we see the door slam shut and the price go through the window? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it depends on what happens in the election, Zeb, to be honest with you. I mean, if these policies right now don't mean anything, because if the House of Representatives pass them, the Senate won't, or let's hope they won't. And if they did somehow make it through the Senate, the president would veto it. But when you consider that Vice President Biden has as his two heads of his Energy and Environment Committee, AOC and John Kerry, who signed us up to that almost traitorous Paris Treaty that President Trump got us out of. You've got people who mean business, and a lot of people question whether a President Biden would be making those decisions, or these other people would be making them for him.
Yeah.
And they certainly pull in a bunch of people who support these policies. So it really depends on that. Right now, we're in pretty good shape. People are enjoying it, and there are a lot more people out on the road, and Godspeed to them. Elections have consequences, and if people vote in this kind of stuff, then that's what they get. And the rest of us have to live with the consequences when we lose.
I don't know if I could have been as polite as you just were with your phraseology when you said, when they vote in this stuff. I think my cowboy heritage would have taken over and implemented another word, but I'm proud of you. I really am.
It didn't have anything to do with livestock, did it, Zeb?
A whole bunch. Hey, I got got one other question for you. What about diesel? You know, I remember in days and years gone by where the automobile industry and the advertisements on television and radio, buy diesel, it's the car and the engine of the future and the pickup of the future and everything. And boy, all of a sudden now we're being demonized because we've got diesels and need diesel fuel. Why?
Well, it's a good question, Zeb, because I mean, anybody who's had a diesel for a while recognizes, because we saw it. There was a jump in diesel prices a few years back in order to pay for changing the refineries. The fact of the matter is, modern diesel, in order to make diesel fuel that's 15 parts per million, it used to be 500 parts per million of sulfur and that sort of thing. Now it's down to 15 parts per million. They sort of took it out of the stream the same way they did leaded gas when they started putting catalytic converters on them in order for these things to burn cleaner and to be able to take care of it. But diesels are a very efficient engine, and the target is not diesel or gasoline or even natural gas-powered vehicles, which makes them sense in some places. It is petroleum products, because they know that that we have centuries of this stuff in the ground here and around the world, and it is essential to providing the freedom and the liberties and the economic growth that has fueled us to become the number one economy in the world. And if you want to shut off the fuel spigot to the strongest economy in the world, and the greatest power in the world, which somehow they feel guilty about, put China in that seat for a while and see how you like it.
Yeah, there you go.
Then you go after the fuel supply. I mean, that's what we did to Hitler in World War II. We bombed his oil facilities in order to cut off his fuel so that he couldn't continue making synthetic oil for operating against the Allies. That's what you always do. You go after the fuel supply.
Right.
These people are going after the fuel supply. They're just cloaking it in green and lying to us about the replacement stuff that will make us more dependent upon China than we ever were.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
We're on the Middle East.
You know, you're the best. I appreciate having you on the air, and your choice of words always leaves me with a bright, glowing spot at the end of my program. God bless you, Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance, and I hope you have the best doggone Independence Day, 4th of July celebration ever. Thank you.
God bless, Zeb, and same to you and your listeners.
All right. Take care, my friend. Thank you very much. Like that man. He's a good straight shooter, Dan Kish. Appreciate him. Right now, oh my goodness, I got to pay some bills, and then we're going to have another guest coming on just momentarily. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They help you get back to being you. All you need to do is call them, make an appointment, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, with Nick Greenwell and his very educated and very personnel staff. They know they can help you, and they will. The best of people at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Whether you've had an injury or a surgery, whatever, please, they've got all the exercise programs, the hydrotherapy pool, everything at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Call them today for an appointment, 678-1191. The best. Oh, speaking of the best, let's not forget, too, Denny's Restaurant. Oh, yeah, you're going to love the menu choices over there. Oh, great menu choices, breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the desserts. But above all the great food, it's service that makes any kind of a restaurant, and you get the best of service. Thomas, Michelle, the whole staff, they really work hard to serve you. Where are they located? 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls, America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. You stop in and see those really, really good people today. In just a moment, we're going to have a favorite on this program. He really is another straight shooter when it comes to medicine and microbiology, and that's Dr. Dean Hart. We're going to go to him momentarily. Stand by, because I also want to tell you that when it dries up, if it dries up, we're going to be able to get out on the trails up in the hills and let's ride. Absolutely on the side-by-sides and the four-wheelers from Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. I urge you to stop in. They've got a showroom chock full of fun. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2, and believe me, all the accessories, everything for you at Let's Ride. And to keep you going and running, they've got a super service department at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Yep, where the fun is sold. And I'll also mention to you real quick about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Hello, Todd. How you doing, old buddy? There is a man that is so committed to service and so committed to making sure that you get everything you need and want. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. All of this and more with Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Where are they located? Right on the curve going into Rupert, Highway 24. You can't miss them. 436-4424, the number to call. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. You give them a call today. Really, honestly, great folks over there. One more quick note, and then we're going to go to our friend Dr. Dean Hart. But I want to remind everybody about Patterson's Electronics. Holy smokes, if you're not aware of it, they've got everything for electronics. I mean, you name it, excuse me, and they've got it over there. And when you go in and make a purchase, and you better hurry and get in there and make a purchase, because a percentage of the money is going to help to go to a favorite local charity. And the top two charities that are named are going to receive a check for $500 from Patterson's Electronics. Stop in and see them today at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena and the rest of the staff serving you with all your electronic needs. And don't forget, they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. All right, let's get right to it. I've got a lot of questions for this man, and he is an expert in microbiology and a published author on diseases and viruses. Good morning again to Dr. Dean Hart. Sir, how are you?
Great. How's Idaho?
Well, it's a little wet right now, my friend, but we're going to dry out hopefully on Thursday, and everything will be a lot better.
I guess that's good for the crops.
Absolutely. Dr. Hart, and again, Sean, I've got a little feedback here on the line. If you'd cut that back just a little bit, please. Dr. Hart, I'm going to be very blunt. You were very good the last time you were on the air telling us about the coronavirus and what's going on or not going on. Where are we now under the guise of hearing that we're going to have a second wave even worse than the first?
Well, I don't think the wave ever receded. What is happening is that we're realizing the virion particles of COVID-19 are becoming ubiquitous in nature, and that means these bugs are getting everywhere. And nature will have its way. Mother Nature wins. Humans and scientists, we play catch-up.
All right, you say you play catch-up, but what about another shutdown? And again, Sean, please, on the feedback, just a little bit more, please. What about the shutdown and the potentiality of seeing another devastating economic disaster occur in this country?
Well, it doesn't seem like that it'll prolong the inevitable, but it will not change the outcome. If we get, it looks to me, now the data's coming out that this virus is going to go into an area, get everybody it can sick, which is probably 60% of the population. Then it'll have done its thing, it'll burn out, and it's going to sweep the country from one coast to the other, and then everybody in between will sooner or later get it. Are there
because it didn't get exposed yet. But it's not a wave, it's a flood that it's going to hit everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it hit Idaho more since we spoke initially.
Yes. Okay, but now the coronavirus, as you stated very eloquently the last time you were on my show, it's not going to go away. It's a virus, and boy, the feedback is really bad. I can't even hear all of a sudden. Again, at the studio, we're having a real bad time. If you can turn that down, please. Sean, have you got it? Thank you. The virus is not going to go away. The disease is spreading. More people are getting it, but there seems to be less death connected to it. What's happening here?
Well, that's the beauty of how we gain knowledge over time. It seemed to me, and I was more making a hypothesis when we first spoke, that Idaho has almost nobody, but sooner or later you'll get it. Now, sooner or later everybody's going to get it. The disaster came when we didn't protect the elderly, the vulnerable. When you're 93 years old, I've seen many of my older friends still skiing and doing all sorts of things in business. They're wise, but we let them get contaminated. We have learned to avoid exposing the elderly, and also they have learned to stop and think about their activities. So we're not killing as many elderlies, but we still have this high mortality rate, especially over 65, then more over 75, then more over 85. But people are a little more careful with us. Well, not us. I'm only 62. But they're more careful with the elderly on the one hand. But a bigger deal is we're testing more people that are asymptomatic. So the death rate has to go down because I think you're going to get it at 35. You're probably going to be 80% rate of asymptomatic. And those people weren't counted in the beginning, only the people in the hospital. So what we see is the ones in the hospital were COVID positive, were over 65 mostly, and now the 35-year-olds, Vice President Pence said it was a good thing. It's neither good nor bad, but it explains what we thought. Now we've got hundreds of millions of Americans that are going to get exposed. The vast majority shall not die. We're going to be careful with people over 65 and those that have comorbidity factors that mostly they're over 65 with diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So we have to be careful. We've learned a little bit about how to treat it, but generally treatment or a cure is a dream, as is a vaccine. So what's going to happen is we're going to see everybody really exposed to it. 60% of those exposed, two-thirds roughly, will get it. And of the two-thirds, 80% won't even know they got it. But with the tests, we're going to see more of the people that don't know they even have it, which is good. But we really have to focus on not thinking an 85-year-old has nothing left to offer in this world. Their wisdom and knowledge, most people are not demented. Most people are healthy 85-year-olds, maybe with a little cardiovascular disease.
You know, let's talk a little bit further on that, Doctor, and pursue that. We have heard some of these people stand up at podiums and say it's basically, and I'm giving a paraphrase, that if you receive and get the coronavirus at an older age, it's almost like a death knell, and they'll be organizing your funeral in a matter of a few weeks. It's not really as bad or as sinister as that, is it?
Well, if you're 85, it looks statistically the odds are very much against you. If you're 65, it looks like the odds are with you. If you're 35, it looks like you won't even notice you have it. So there's definitely a strict correlation the older, but you get comorbidities. Nobody goes along in life and has more elasticity of their blood vessels. They get a little less elastic, so we get more cardiovascular issues. The body heads to senescence at 40, and it's downhill for your immunoglobulins, and downhill for all your immune system, your plasma cells, your B and T cells. All these cells don't get stronger. They do get weaker. Nothing in your body except the wisdom and life experiences grow in your mind, and your mind can stay perfectly healthy, and you have more to give theoretically at 82 years old than you do at 12 years old. But society has this prejudice that, you lived 85 years, it's okay if you die now. That's ageism, and that's one of those things like racism. And ageism is an assumption because you live long enough, it's okay to die. But it is very much more a death sentence the older you are and the more diseases you have, which goes with age.
Well, I had a lot of emails the last time you were on in reference to people that had certain health problems. We had emails from people that had kidney problems, people like you mentioned a moment ago with diabetes, people that have had heart attacks, even though they were minimum heart attacks, and they're back doing everything, whether it's working on a ranch, working on a farm, playing golf every day, whatever. And what about those people? I mean, what does the coronavirus do to them that all of a sudden shuts down their system?
Well, the people, you mentioned different categories. The people with the kidney disease, yes, even if you're 23 years old and you have a kidney disease, you are compromised and at a much higher risk for getting symptoms and getting worse symptoms and even perishing from it. Statistically, the elderly have many more kidney problems than the 23-year-old. It just goes with the turf of being fortunate and enjoying life and going along. Things will break down. But you're absolutely right. These 30-year-old that gets kidney problems, a normal working-age person in the kidney problem, with the kidney problem. Now, this is now his or her bioethical conundrum. Because if you wear a mask, and if you keep 6 feet away, and you are comfortable with that, then that is your decision of risk and reward. And it all depends on autonomy. Our country is based on individuals making decisions for themselves. Now, do I believe in closing down the bars and making people wear masks? Yeah, basically, sometimes we have a treatise of government, and we have to protect the people. We need traffic lights. We need hospital beds to be open. So the government does have a role, but with the people that emailed you, there are no absolute, yes, you can go run the tractor without a risk. If there's people around you, and I drove those tractors, they're like hotels inside almost, some of them, and you get 2 or 3 people there. If there's 2 or 3 people in that tractor, and they're like farm hands from another place and not family members, there's a greater risk. If you're alone in a tractor on a field, I wouldn't even wear a mask. Even with a kidney condition or high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, there's a balance to everything within each of us. And we can't, like you said, there's those cases where if you're 85 with kidney disease and diabetes, then you're very high risk. Then you got the 35 with the kidney disease only. There are many things that are very safe, outdoors in particular. Indoors becomes less safe. The biggest deal is indoor and outdoor, and people, if you're at a restaurant and outdoors, is the server wearing a mask. I want that server with a mask when he talks at me because the germs come out of him.
Yeah.
But I will not wear a mask while I'm eating outdoors at a restaurant, and that's a how do you decide how much risk you're willing to take and how much life is worth if you're trapped in a room, not leaving it. It's a risk-reward, a heavy thought, philosophical thing everybody's got to determine to themselves. But the government does have a place in this whole system, too.
Okay, but there's one other area that you and I really haven't gone into, and I think it's probably the most important area, and it's our education system. I don't think that we should at all think about not opening schools in the fall. I think every grade from kindergarten all the way through the university classes need to be offered, because these kids lost a lot from March, April, and May at the end of the school year, and they lost things they can never recoup. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think we live for the next generation and our legacy at the end of the day. I'm not sure if there's an afterlife, but I'm sure our children represent us going forward, because we're not going to live forever. I'm pretty sure about that. Maybe the two of us will live forever. So the legacy of our children is what we live for. Every biological species on this planet lives to pass on the genetic material. That's a biologist talking. So these children cannot lose another 3 months in school except one condition. You start sending them back to school if the hospitals lose the ability to admit more COVID-positive patients, then you got to go into emergency mode. There's only one thing with children in school that I see. You try it, you have to try it. They're the future. They're the ones that lose the most, in a way. I mean, dying is losing the ultimate most, but the children are so part of... Would any 85-year-old say, well, I'll be careful and not send the kids back to school? If you have kids and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, it's a heck of a head trip, but I think politically that's in that jurisdiction. It's not an individual choice as much as it is the government should have the schools opened. Each parent can decide if they want to train their kid at home this coming up year, which is a horrible outcome for a kid. They need to socialize,
yes,
let alone learn. This sitting in front of a video screen, this is not much learning at all, and there's no socialization. So clearly, the schools should open, but we have to monitor the only one true test. You got these immunoglobulin antibody tests. Some are accurate, some are not. The COVID polymerase test, positive and negative. They have the pros and the cons, but they're not going to give you the information we need. What you look at is your hospital. If you can handle infectious diseases still, like the COVID, combined with maybe the flu that pops up to exacerbate the hospital problem. If we have hospital beds for the system, we should have school. If the hospital beds get, unfortunately, we can practice social distancing, but not at school. We can wear masks. That is an interesting thing to do at school. Wearing a mask, you convinced me to do, but keeping them out of school, and unless, like I said, there's only one test I care about, and that's the hospitalization rate. If it's coming near to the hospital being fully occupied, then the government has an obligation to have hospital beds for us. That's what we pay our taxes for, and there's where they got to step in and save the day.
All right, one last question, Dr. Hart, and then I'll let you go. And the question is simply put, what about the vaccine? What are you hearing? What do you hear about possibility of a release of the vaccine for the general public? What's going on?
Well, to me, a vaccine is equal to a cure. With AIDS, they never got a cure. They got a cure, never a vaccine. With other things, we got vaccines, never a cure. So they're the same thing. Is there a vaccine or a cure coming down the pipe? Yes. But the main thing is, in my first graduate degree in biology, when I said what I wanted to do, the professor, he laughed. Science is not put in a time clock, no matter how much you work and how much time you spend. There's certain processes in science that takes time to figure out the efficacy of a vaccine. It takes That's easier. I mean, you can see if things drop dead with the efficacy, but the safety. The more the time, the more the safety you know. So even if you could show this thing stops you from getting COVID, you haven't shown that your liver's not melting down. And that takes a lot of testing on a lot of animals through, I don't think we use great apes anymore, but we use some, I think it's macaque monkeys. But you start a petri dish. Can you fast-track it? Forgetting things that prevent COVID, that theoretically you inject people enough COVID, they're going to have immunity to COVID if they don't die from the vaccine. But it has the safety. So you got two things. Does it work? That's easy compared to watching and making sure over time it doesn't cause liver and kidney damage and thalidomide type stuff if you were around back then. You can't give a medicine and have unintended consequences that harm the population. So I'm last on line. I look forward to the vaccine because something will come out, but it won't be fully safety tested. I mean, take your mumps, take your measles vaccine, take your polio vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but this vaccine is political. And this vaccine, I don't want to know about anything comes before or after the election or anything, any vaccine related to any election. That's not science talking.
Absolutely. This gentleman is taught as an associate research scientist and assistant professor at the Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons. I respect him on the program and his thoughts. Dr. Dean Hart, God bless you, man, and thank you so much for being on my show.
Great to be back with you.
Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day and a great 4th of July. Thank you very much.
You too.
Thank you. Very nice man, very educated and informed doctor about the coronavirus, and I appreciate him being on the program this morning. Holy smokes, we got to have a weather forecast. It's still pretty doggone cloudy and dreary out there. Our weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they are the professionals when it comes to accounting services to the Mini-Cash area and beyond for over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. They are there to serve you, your family, and your business. The professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Few scattered rain showers for today, then by tomorrow and for the rest of the week, it's going to be warming up. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms off and on throughout the day. We are expecting mostly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 30 miles an hour. Tonight, that's going to be tapering off. Still going to be a little bit breezy with a low of 45. Tomorrow, sunny skies and highs right around 74. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. By Thursday, sunny skies and mid-80s for Friday, and looks like close to 90 for 4th of July Saturday. That's what's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Currently 54 degrees. 54? I mean, last week at this time, what was it, like 85 or something? Holy smokes. And the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. As I said, the best of accounting services to you, your family, and your business with offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. The professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Holy smokes, Rupert 4th of July celebration for Independence Day in full swing. And we've got some businesses that are inviting you to come on over to Rupert, including Haskin Insurance Service at 629 Fremont Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4141. And they want to thank all their customers for the business over the past 20 years. And they say they are your partner in insurance insurance protection. Haskin Insurance Service in Rupert. Dixon Oil Company, 602 South 2nd in Rupert. Every time we have a special event over in that area, they are right there to jump in and help advertise. Dixon Oil, you better believe it, 436-6609, the telephone number. They've been in business since 1951. Great service station, gas, oil, propane for heating. Daryl and the crew wish you a very safe and sane Independence Day. Deanne, we have somebody knocking at the door. And don't forget, too, Haruza Insurance at 723 South 3rd Street in Rupert. Hello, David and the crew. Absolutely protect what matters most to you with Haruza Insurance, your commercial, business, auto, home, life, and health insurance. Haruza Insurance. And last but not least, Snyder's Surplus at 116 South, 200 west of Rupert. My goodness, they're celebrating their 6th year since they reopened, and I'll tell you what, serving the community for a long, long time. They've got a wide variety of products to serve you, and they stock so many things from so many manufacturers. You stop in and see them today. Every day is a treasure hunt at Snyder's Surplus over in Rupert, 436-8000. And those are just a few great businesses that are helping promote Rupert's Independence Day 4th of July celebration. Thank you very much. What have we got cooking for the next hour? We've got Dr. History on in just a few moments. And then at 10:30, going to be a great interview, always is, with Raynard Jackson. And he's going to tell it like it is, with the black versus white opposition going on in this country and more racial tensions than ever. So I'm looking forward to having him on the program this morning. While I've got just a moment here, I want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Now, when I say floors and more, that means the more is talking about Simmons Beauty Rest mattresses. Oh my goodness, have they got a great selection for you to go in and check out, having a good night's sleep. All the furniture, like the sofas and love seats, and they've got all the reclining sofas and the living room sets, and don't forget all the recliners. Holy moly, it is a big store with a lot of great things for you to beautify and comfortize your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And they're located at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. Oh my, 4th of July weekend, and did Dr. History show up? Yeah, tell him to come on in. We don't mind a little noise. He's always talking and cackling like a chicken anyway, so come on in. We're going to tell everybody we're going to go to the CBS News and then come back with Dr. History. I have no idea what he's going to talk about this morning, but it's always interesting, and he's heard now, what is it, Ken, over 35 countries are listening and tuning in? Wow, your mic's not on, just tell me. Yes or no? Yes. Okay, thank you. He's coming up in just a few moments. We'll send it back to our studio and be ready to go right after CBS News. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. And great weather for ducks out in my arena. Man, it's wet out there. Oh, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you, and Greystone Crossing Senior Living. Seniors, I'm telling you, don't put it off. Call, find out information about living in a beautiful, brand new place, Greystone Crossing. It's on 21st Street, that's El Fresco Road, just a mile east of Walmart. Here's the number to call Matt and Kelly Wiggins, 650-4979. I'll repeat it, 650-4979, and they'd be happy to set up an appointment to show you all around the facility. 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping, local transportation. It's a beautiful place. Greystone Crossing, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with their friends. And also, when I talk about my friends, I want to talk about Lon and Sharon and 7K Metals. I absolutely am so thankful that I was introduced to silver purchases that can come right to your home. You can help build your own financial security and future, and it's also a valued treasure in the future for your loved ones. What a great saving opportunity. And I urge you to find out more about 7K Metals and silver purchases with Lon Hardy at 312-8699 and Sharon at 430-3259. Tell them I told you to call. They're good friends of mine. They'll help you. 7K Metals and silver purchases. You check on it today. Well, it's Tuesday, and with all that being said, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, a little fanfare. By the way, a very little, because our trumpet player got sick and couldn't make it. Here comes Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you, my friend?
Another fine day in Minnecasia.
Have you had a lot of water over there?
Oh, yeah. It's puddled up pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're a short fella. I mean, do you have to wear a snorkel?
Yeah, I get enough jokes about being short from my family. So
where's Ken? Well, he's right here. Just look down.
Yeah, here he is.
How tall are you?
5'8"ish.
Oh, come on.
Okay, 5'7".
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And you were drafted by the NBA.
That's right.
Okay.
For the towel boy.
What's going on?
Okay, we're going to talk about a place called, in South Dakota, called the Pine Ridge Reservation.
Been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to, you'll recognize some of these, but kind of an interesting story that I ran across. So, picture this, the most ticklish, dangerous few hours in the history of the Big Pine Ridge Indian Reservation of South Dakota occurred during a bright June morning in 1881. This was the first day of the Sioux's last Sundance. Now, as you recall, the Sundance was kind of something they did before going into battle, things like that.
Yeah.
So on this beautiful day, a band of nearly 400 Brule Sioux under Old Chief Spotted Tail from the Rosebud Indian Reservation threatened to storm the newly established Pine Ridge Indian Agency, and at that time it was actually called the Red Cloud Agency. And they threatened to kill every white man there, to seize all the food and clothing, and the big commissary, which had all this goods and food and stuff, and as the Indians, and they said they were going to end up by burning it all to the ground.
Wow.
So they were going to attack, take all the goods, kill all the white people, and burn it to the ground. So, only a miracle, mostly in the form of the iron nerve of Pine Ridge's Indian agent, Dr. Valentine T. McGillicuddy, saved the day, okay, and prevented the tragic happening. Now, the first agent appointed after the agency was moved from near Crawford, Nebraska, to its present location on White Clay Creek. He served from 1879 to 1886, after which he lived in Rapid City for some years after leaving the U.S. Indian Service. So this Dr. McGillicuddy is the main guy we're going to be talking about in this story.
All right.
So Chief Spotted Tail and about 2,000 of his Bruleys had come over from the Rosebud to the Pine Ridge Agency to witness the big Sundance. Now, although his band had brought plenty of food along and Dr. McGillicuddy had been officially informed of this, the chief and his band had been accustomed to kind of bullying their agent at the Rosebud. They just kind of push him around. And having
this is the white agent, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So over at the Rosebud, they were just used to pushing this guy around and getting what they wanted. Well, Dr. McGillicuddy was not such an easy mark, and they were yet to learn the hard way. Now, shortly after entering on duty at Pine Ridge, McGillicuddy had organized, uniformed, and armed a band of 100 young Oglala Sioux Indian police under the leadership of a guy named Captain George Sword. Now, keep that guy in mind, too, George Sword. He was a captain over these 100 Oglala Sioux police men.
Was he an Indian?
Yes, and he was. He was a full-blood, but proven with bravery. But anyway, they dressed these guys in smart uniforms of blue jackets and trousers and black hats. They were a very neat, impressive, efficient band of law enforcement officers, and Dr. McGillicuddy was very, very proud of this group of 100 young men.
Yeah.
So anyway, on this memorable day, or in June, McGillicuddy and a group of officials and other guests were assembled in his office, awaiting transportation by Army ambulance to the Big Sun Dance, a mile or so to the south of the agency, on what they called Sundance Flats.
I was going to ask you if that was out in a great big large flat area out there.
Yeah,
I see.
near there. So,
okay.
But his group of guests, and they were going to go to this Sundance deal. But anyway, among his group of guests, it included 3 Army officers, a Major Burke, a Lieutenant Waite, and a Lieutenant Goldman, a guy named Edgar Beecher Bronson, a young New York City rancher in the area who was a good friend. There was a Mr. Blanchard. He was the post trader at Pine Ridge. And Charlie Conley, a local Indian inspector, and a few others, but the agent's chief clerk was a guy named Louis Shangro.
You're sure having a lot of odd names.
I am. But, okay, so keep in mind McGillicuddy. Captain George Sword. Over the police.
Yeah.
Now, this next guy I want you to remember is this Louis Shangru. He...
That's a lesson.
He was a mixed blood interpreter and was also in the office with all these guys. Okay. So he's the interpreter.
Okay.
And you're going to hear a little more about him.
All right.
So... Suddenly, they were startled by the abrupt entrance of Captain George Sword of the Indian Police, whose manner, though he was calm and dignified, told them plainly that something had gone really, really wrong.
Uh-oh.
He went over, Sword went over to the interpreter, Shangru, and began talking to him kind of in low, hushed tones. Well, the interpreter turned to the group with this startling statement, quote, "Sword, he say many Injuns come from White Clay, all brulies, and ride war ponies, and all set for some developments. Sword, he also say he no like the looks of things."
We got trouble coming.
Yeah. Anyway, after a glance out the office door, it didn't take long for the group inside to decide that none of them liked the looks of things that were happening outside. As Captain Sword also said. A band numbering close to 400 warriors
Holy smokes.
sat on their war ponies some 300 yards from the agency compound gate.
They didn't know they were going to be there.
No. But this Captain Sword had found out about it ahead of time. And he came and said, okay, this is what's happening.
Trouble in River City.
So a heavy cloud of dust behind them showed plainly that they had been coming at a pretty high speed and just stopped. Evidently, they were going to have a little council among themselves. So you got this fort. You got 400 of these Brule Indians out there. So finally, 10 warriors separated themselves and began walking slowly on foot toward the compound gate. The rest of the band kind of hung back the way they'd come, kind of stayed back ways, calling a halt nearly a half mile away. So now, McGillicuddy's wise insistence, all within the office, okay, all these guys that are in the office, resumed their seats to make it look like nothing unusual was happening. Okay, so you got these 10 warriors coming towards the fort. These guys are in this office, and he says, you guys just sit quiet. Let's make it look like there's nothing unusual happening. So most of them, however, took the opportunity to carefully check their pistols before the delegation of warriors reached the office door. Okay, so are you with me?
Yeah.
These Indians are, these Indians are right at the door to come into the office.
10 of them.
10 of them,
yeah.
So in a slow, deliberate shuffle, the 10 Indians entered, the outlines of a rifle showing plainly beneath the blanket of each Indian.
Why were they let in?
They just walked in.
Wasn't there any outside security?
Well, evidently not. Or maybe there was just an understanding that, nothing bad was going to happen, so they weren't stopped. So, anyway, with a kind of a gruff, grunted howl, they squatted on the floor facing McGillicuddy's chair. with their backs against the wall nearest the door.
Oh.
They were kind of scowling. They were kind of sinister, kind of bad-looking guys, and you could tell they weren't there for any peaceful purpose. So here's what the leader of them said. He said, quote, "You tell agent we want grubs." This was the sub-chief, and he told the interpreter, Shangro, after a long silence. He was kind of a tall, powerful, middle-aged Indian, so kind of a leader, but he told the interpreter to tell the agent
they wanted food.
They wanted food. So here's what McGillicuddy said. He said, "You tell him that I have been advised by his Rosebud agent that he and his people left there fully rationed for the round trip here to the Sundance and back." And he just said this very calmly, just, that was it. And he says, then the Indian said, "You tell agent he must give us grubs now, right away." And this, he demanded the chief. I mean, he was getting mad. He was getting upset. All right? Now, so McGillicuddy says, "Lewis, you just tell him to go to heck."
Now, just a minute. For the clarification of history.
Yes.
That's really the word that was used.
Oh, yes, no doubt.
Yeah.
McGillicuddy answered quietly and said he gets no food at this agency. He looked the chief squarely in the eye, kind of a little smile on his face. Can you just picture this?
I can.
So, jumping suddenly to his feet, the enraged, bullying chief ran right up to the agent's side. He shook his fist in his face, and he said, "If you don't give us them grubs now, I'll kill every white man on this reservation." And the Indian, he shouted, and he said this in English. So, he knew a little English. Okay, so we have this standoff now.
So here's McGillicuddy
standing there,
and this bad chief,
right?
That's
sub-chief.
Mad because he didn't get his food,
right?
Okay.
Now the chips were plainly down now, and no mistake. For nearly a minute or so, it seemed this defiant sub-chief towered, and actually Mac was just sitting there, kind of confronting each other. There was kind of a mean scowl on the chief's face, and I got a picture of this, kind of an amused smile on McGillicuddy's face.
Now, why would McGillicuddy be smiling knowing that he's got an uprising against him?
You may find out right here.
Oh, okay.
So then suddenly the smile left. McGillicuddy's jaws tightened, and without a word, he jumped up, sprang upon the chief, seized him by the throat, and shook him until his concealed rifle clattered to the floor. Without hesitation, McGillicuddy then rushed him to the open door, whirled him around, and gave him such a violent kick in the rear with his boot that the chief went sprawling into the dust several feet from the door.
This might have started something.
Well, defiant, sadly hurt in spirit, and half strangled from the choking, he was truly kind of a sad and dangerous spectacle. Laying there, he is. His 9 braves dashed out, promptly helped him to his feet, and brushed some of the dust from his blanket. The whites also came out at once and all lined up outside the door with their backs to the wall. And if by magic, a dozen or so of Sword, you remember Sword?
Yeah, he had the 100 Indians.
Right. Sword's young Indian police appeared in their midst, lining up in the ranks against the agency building.
Wow.
So here you've got these guys against them.
So the 10 Indians were against a whole bunch of the good Indians.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So then came a few ticklish minutes. A single shot was all that was needed to, quote, open the ball, as they called it.
Yeah, start the dance.
And the fight would be on. But the chief and his warriors, after carefully weighing the situation, pulled out through the gate and set off toward their band. So they left.
The bad ones.
Yeah, they're heading out back to where the other...
With the chief that got kicked in the butt.
Yes. Yes. So the whites drew a deep breath of relief, and...
Well, no, wait, I got a question there. Why didn't he go out to his band of, what'd you say, 400? Why didn't they come back in force?
I'll get to that.
Well, hurry.
I'm getting there. So... I got to read this because this is directly from the mouth of a guy named Charlie Conley. He says, "Bet we'll sure pop good and plenty when that old coffee cooler gets back to his bunch and spills his tale. And if we'ns ain't got 'em buffaloed and they come back for an attack, I'm afraid it's Katie's bar the door for the lot of us unless we do some mighty tall scheming. I love that. I love that.
You got to make a plan.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, there were 3 Army officers in that office building.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Major Burke, you're the senior officer present here, McGillicuddy said. Will you assume command? And he said, nope. You are in supreme command here, and you seem to be doing just fine. And you just tell me what you want us to do.
Was this in the middle of a stockade or just a private building out in the open?
I'm not exactly sure how good of a fort or
That's
a
what I
reservation.
was wondering.
I don't think it was really a fort. I think it was just a building.
I see.
So suddenly it was noticed that George Sword and his band of police had disappeared, and they kind of got a little apprehensive at once. Had they turned and left and sneaked away? They didn't know what had happened to them. But they were not left long in doubt because the manner in which Sword and his police returned gave them heart failure. They had been watching the Bruley band where they were still in council several hundred yards away.
This is the 400.
Yeah. So Mrs. McGillicuddy and Mrs. Blanchard had been brought to the agency office for protection. Everyone now dropped behind the wall formed by a compound fence and was barely hidden when up over the bluff, not only 40 yards away, and charging at top speed came a sure enough war party with rifles cocked and leveled. Keen eyes sought the sights and fingers were beginning to tighten on the triggers when all of a sudden Shangru, the interpreter, said, "Don't shoot! Don't shoot! This is Sword and his Indian police band, his 100. They're coming. The cavalry's coming." Okay, so it was the trusty Sword with every one of his young policemen with him, swinging into the gate. He quietly led his men behind this large office building, which was the north side, and left their horses in charge of a few holders. Then he calmly lined the rest of his band along the breastwork beside the whites. So honest, trusty Sword had passed his baptism of fire with flying colors and was ready to die in defense of his beloved Mr. Dr. Valentine McGillicuddy.
I'm still lost. I mean, okay, hold it. They were there. Sword and his men were there.
Well, in the beginning, Sword was by him with just a few of his men.
Okay, so then he left.
Right, to go get the others.
Go get the
other 100.
The other cavalry. Okay.
Yeah, so now they're together.
So they had 100 guys. 100
now they're
Indians.
ready to fight the 400 Bruley.
But really the odds are still not very fair.
No, but what a change Captain Sword. All through his training, he just was doing great. But anyway, so here comes, I mentioned that his soldiers were all dressed in blue uniforms and
what
hats.
happened to that?
Well, here they came, completely stripped of their uniforms. They were naked with the exception of breechcloths and moccasins. Their faces were painted and half hidden beneath great war bonnets and eagle feathers. They'd prepared for war. Prepared for battle, as an Indian would.
But they could have been shot by the cavalry that was at the fort because they didn't know who they were.
And that's why the interpreter said,
"You're losing me, man. This is a movie here."
Okay, we got to finish this up.
Okay.
Anyway, the situation for the little force of whites and Indian police pitted against the nearly 400 Bruleys was still very grave. Escape was hopeless as getting help. There was only one cavalry troop at Fort Sheridan. That was 18 miles away. Fort Robinson was 60 miles away. So things were not still looking great. Okay. Now, Sword and his troop had arrived barely in the nick of time. Scarcely were they settled behind the excellent breastwork formed by the fence when the mad Indians slashed their horses and lying low over the horses' necks to present small targets. They charged straight on the position towards the whites. Okay.
Now, this is the 400.
Yeah. And they had enough potential horsepower to really wipe them out. But here's what McGillicuddy said. He said, "Don't fire unless I tell you to." All right? So on they came, gathering speed and more speed. There was little the group catch behind the breast the other guys could do except just wait. Well, at the last minute, the warriors reined up. They stopped. They were about 60 yards from this line of the whites and the police guys. Kind of a pretty threatening mass of Indians, and they were a pretty good threat. Now, here's where an interesting thing happens. McGillicuddy turns to the interpreter, and he says, "Hop out there, Lewis, and tell that old devil to hit back to camp. He yelled, and he says, I'll give him just 5 minutes before we fire. No more.
That doesn't sound very sane to me.
No. So the interpreter, Shangru, he sprung up out with the message, and the agent, McGillicuddy, jumped up on the wall with his watch in his hand, prepared to time the 5 minutes allowed by his ultimatum. Halfway to the band of the Bruleys, Shangru, the interpreter, shouted the message and then hurried back as fast as he could to get, because, that was kind of a dangerous spot.
Kind of,
yeah. So picture this, McGillicuddy standing up there in plain sight with his watch, timing 5 minutes. Okay?
This guy had a backbone the size of a highway.
So, anyway, McGillicuddy's order threw the Bruleys into kind of a heated parley among themselves, and the sub-chief, judging from his angry, impatient gestures, wanted to avenge getting kicked in the rear end. But, the rest of the band seemed they were kind of buffaloed by what they were seeing. And finally, they just kind of started slowly turning their horses and just kind of slowly left.
And they left?
And anyway, according to old-timers, Dr. McGillicuddy stayed at the Pine Ridge Reservation for another 5 or 6 years. And actually, they think that if he had been the agent at Wounded Knee in 1890, that the way he handled things, that tragedy would not have occurred.
This McGillicuddy was kind of like John Wayne and the Incredible Hulk all wrapped into one.
In fact, he died in 1939, and at the Pine Ridge Agency School, they flew the flag at half-staff in honor of McGillicuddy.
No kidding. I wish we had more time. I mean, I got a lot more questions. It was kind of a confusing story, but interesting. Very good story.
Well, I hopefully it's not so bad that you don't understand that there was 400 Brule Indians against 100 white and Indian police.
And then somebody on the 100 side said, "We've got them at a great disadvantage."
Jump up there and tell them that I'm going to give them one chance to leave.
Yeah, hold your watch. Anyway, I got to run. Thank you very much, Dr. History. Outstanding. Sean, could you please play quickly a word for the Silver State Stampede?
The thunder of hooves, the thrill of an 8-second ride, and all the fun of a PRCA rodeo is at your fingertips this July 10, 11, and 12 when the Silver State Stampede makes its way to the Elko County Fairgrounds. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders, mini bull riders, Old West bronc riders, mutton busting, and the always popular Ring of Fear. A family day Sunday evening, and tough enough to wear pink on Saturday. Gates open all 3 days at 4 p.m., and you can dance the night away on Friday and Saturday to the music of the Moonshine Outlaws. Family entertainment at its best with the 2020 Silver State Stampede. Silver State Stampede will be following all of the Nevada Governor's directives, Nevada United Roadmap to Recovery Plan, as well as the CDC guidelines. The safety of everyone is our top priority.
And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we send it back to our studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, don't forget, everything's going on right now at Rupert's 4th of July celebration all this week with the theme Rockin' in the USA. Don't forget the Grand Marshals are Charlie and Lori Creason. And tonight, they're going to have the great big fireworks display at dark right downtown by the city park. Tomorrow, they've got great music and patriotic programs and activities all the way through the week, ending on Saturday, the 4th of July, with the big parade starting at 11 o'clock. Don't miss a minute of all the fun at the great big Rupert 4th of July celebration for 2020. Again, with the theme, Rockin' in the USA. Independence Day, Rupert's 4th of July celebration. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and I feel comfortable enough in saying what I'm about ready to say with my next guest. I'm white, he's black, and we're a couple of guys that could sit in the backyard and have a couple of beers on a hot summer afternoon And I think we could get a lot solved with the problems in the world, more so than what's being done now. Raynard Jackson, good morning to you. How are you?
Good, my friend. Always good to be on your show.
You know, Raynard, where are we in this country? The idiocy, the lunacy that's going on, and the hate, and the burning, and the looting, and the absolute despising one another. I don't know if we can ever heal this thing. What are your thoughts?
Well, Zeb, I wondered the same thing, and I'm wondering when conservatives, Zeb, are going to stand up and quit bowing down to the altar of politically correct and just stand up for our principles. And Zeb, I'm not going to argue with you or your callers about whether a guy with a penis is a girl or a female or a male. I mean, I'm just not. You are determined from your birth what gender you are.
That's right.
And that's the only discussion I'm having. And
that's right.
For us conservatives to sit on the sidelines, Zeb, and allow, for example, Black Lives Matter. Can you believe, Zeb, they have taken over our professional sports franchises, NFL, NBA, baseball, hockey, and I'm reading an article on ESPN that supposedly when the NBA season opens up next month, they're going to have all this signage to Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, no, when I watch sports, Zeb, I want to get away from the realities of my life. I don't want to hear political messages pumped at me 24/7 while I'm watching a basketball game. So we conservatives have better stand up on our principles.
I was one of the big advocates, and I want to share this with you, Raynard, because this is very important. I was one of the big advocates on my talk show for our Governor Little to sign Bills 500 and 509, which basically said they wanted to protect girls in sports away from transgender males. I'm going to highlight that bill exclusively right here. I think it's absolutely one of the most evil things in the world to let and have girls participate against transgender males. It makes it a totally unfair, inequitable situation, and it's got to be stopped.
I agree with you 100%, Zeb. And again, I am dumbfounded that this is even a controversial issue. I mean, it just blows my mind, and I'm glad to see good conservatives like you, Zeb, are standing up. But unfortunately, here in D.C., too many of our supposed Republican conservatives, they run on a conservative platform. They get up here in D.C., and they run all the way to the left, and that's part of the reason where we seem to be losing so many the fights up here in D.C. is because too many of our guys, Zeb, are caving in to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
Okay, but Raynard, why? I mean, let's get to the crux of this thing. You're one of the sharpest guys I've ever had on my program, and you can look at things not through a mirror, but straightforward out the window and tell me what the answer is. Why is the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, etc., why are they capitulating to the filth and the evil?
Because, number one, the asylum is run by the inmates. Number two, they know conservatives, Zeb, they know there will be no retribution. There will be no punishment. Now, all these sports leagues constantly run to Congress to get tax exemption for this or that and all these preferential treatment. But then when it comes to stand true to our conservative values, they throw us under the bus, and we allow them to. I mean, Zeb, when you see a kid in a grocery store with their parents, and the kid just lies down the foot of in the middle of the store and scream because you won't let them get some candy or this or that, that's not the kid's fault. That's the parents' fault.
Yes.
And obviously, you created a culture and an environment where the kid feels like he can get away with that. Same thing with these professional sports, Zeb. They constantly come to us for votes when members of Congress are voting on issues that impact their leagues. But then as soon as they get what they want, they run far back to the left, and we allow them to get away with it.
I still don't understand how less than, and it is less than, 2% of our society has got control of 98%. This makes no sense to me.
On the surface, I would agree with you, Zeb, but when you think about it, remember, that 2% you're talking about controls Hollywood. They control the images we see on our TV stations and the movies we see in our theaters, and they have been on a 3 or 4 generation move to make homosexuality and transsexualism popular and make it seem like it's normal. The same thing you want to talk about China. China has been investing in Hollywood and owns several of the major studios out there in L.A., and they have been pushing Chinese propaganda for decades on us, and it's very subtle and slow. And you wake up one morning, Zeb, and you look at yourself like, what the hell country am I in? No, you're in America, but we have fallen asleep at the switch, and now we're paying the price for it.
We are paying the price for it. Our kids are paying the price for it. Our grandkids are going to be paying the price for it. And why? I just don't understand why and how can we clean this thing up? What's the process? What's the procedure? How do we get good people to go along with like Romans 1:27 in the Bible? I mean, where are we going to start being applicable to good and bad in this country?
Well, I think number one is just you having your show and you and I discussing this publicly. Because remember, a lot of your listeners may not even be aware of the things we're talking about because they're just good, patriotic Americans going to work every day trying to survive and take care of their family. But also the conservatives that we do have in D.C., these elected officials, they need to use those who are like-minded as we are. They need to use their megaphone and bully pulpit in a more effective manner, and they need to do it on a daily basis. Listen to Zeb, liberalism doesn't take a break for the holidays. We are getting our butts beat in the media because we think the Supreme Court is going to back us up. And as we've seen in the past month, Zeb, I have zero confidence in the supposedly conservative Supreme Courts because our buddy John Roberts seems to be selling us out on every issue, and it's really frustrating.
Well, I agree with you. And, Raynard, I'm going to say this, and I don't care whose toes I step on. They shouldn't be on the dance floor if they can't take it. Where are the churches? Where are the ministers? Where are the church leaders?
Yeah, I want to know the same thing because, again, they have gotten a severe case of laryngitis.
Yes.
Where's the Jerry Falwells, the Jim Baker, the Pat Robertsons, and the guy down in Houston, Joe, I forget his name, Osteen.
Right.
I mean, again, I'm telling you, Zeb, we're going to sit around and allow Biden to win this election come November. And if we do that, Zeb, we will not recognize America within the first 30, 40 days of a Biden administration with all the policies he's going to unleash on our values. I'm telling you, Zeb, this is a serious time in our country, and conservatives seem to be thinking this is a joking matter, and it's not, because it's not funny. Our whole country's survival is at stake.
But, you know, the average citizen right now today, Raynard, and the listeners in my audience are sitting there going, oh, well, gee, what can I do? How do I approach this? What can I do in southern Idaho? Or what can I do in Montana or Arkansas? There's got to be we the people to stand up against this. How do we do it?
Well, number one, couple things. It sounds trite there, but they are effective. Your audience should call their member of the U.S. Congress, their member of the Senate, their governor, etc., and lodge a phone call or send them an email saying that we are not supportive of this legislation or this policy, and we need you to change it. We have to be an engaged citizenship in order to push our conservative values there, because, again, remember, all the institutions that are set up are pretty much set against us as conservatives and set up to promote liberalism. Again, all the sports franchises. You got the educational system, both on the high school level and the collegiate level, are doing nothing but poisoning our kids' brains with liberalism. And so one person can pick up the phone, Jeff, and call the governor's office, call the congressman's office, your U.S. senator, your state senator, your state rep. So I don't want to hear from your audience that there's nothing they can do, or they don't have deep pockets so they can, contribute thousands of dollars. You can pick up the phone. Everybody can do that. You can send an email to your elected officials telling them where you stand on these issues, and those are the practical things everyone can do right now, Jeff.
Raynard, did you ever think that in your lifetime, that you would ever see a complete control over people and their free speech and their attitudes about what's right and what's wrong, and the firing of people from major corporations like ESPN and others because people are voicing opinions because they're Christian.
Yeah, I never dreamed of that, and I read the book like most Americans there back in the day, in Orwell's 1984, Big Brother, and isn't it amazing that Big Brother is here, and we're living in the midst of a Big Brother world where social media can take down anything you put up because they disagree, not because you're inflaming violence or anything, but strictly on the basis of you disagreeing. For example, if I were to go on Facebook and say that homosexuality and transgenderism is not compatible with my Christian faith, I guarantee you within minutes they would take that down.
Yes. So therein lies the problem. We have a group of insidious lefties that are really making their headway in the media, and anybody that speaks out for Christianity, anybody that speaks out for family values, anybody that speaks out for the Bible, boy, I mean, they're coming after you like a fly to a plate of milk.
No question. But again, Zeb, we conservatives know what the game plan is because liberalism and liberals have not changed their playbook in decades and decades and decades. So when are we going to stop sitting around complaining and actually do something? And so, Zeb, that's why I enjoy doing your show and other shows like yours, because the last thing I want a conservative to ever look me in the eye and tell me, oh, we didn't know. Or if I had known it was that bad, I would have done so. I'm telling your audience now, Jeff, it's that bad. So we need to get off our duff and make it happen.
You know, you mentioned in that press release that you had about a liberal dose of sports, you mentioned Ben Watson, former tight end for the New England Patriots. And what's happening to Ben? Because I don't think he's going to be able to keep speaking out like he has been. I think they're going to try to shut him up, too.
Oh, without question. And he will never get the exposure he would have gotten if he came out and said, hey, I'm homosexual. But because he's pro-life and he's doing a documentary which talks about the whole pro-life movement and the Margaret Sanger and eugenics, and it's deliberate targeting of the black family, Jeb, he's not going to have that platform that LeBron James would have, spouting out that liberalism. So again, it's up to guys like you and I who have a media platform, who know other people around the country. If we get a chance to get Ben Watson, say, on your radio show or other media outlets, we need to do what we can to make sure his voice is heard amongst the people.
You know, Raynard, when you look ahead, and I don't mean to paint you into a corner on this, but when you look ahead to November, how afraid are you of the left, Biden, and et cetera, winning that election?
Well, right now, I put the way I've been telling people, Zeb, is the Democrats can't win, but Trump can lose. And right now, Trump is giving the race away because, again, he's not staying on the messages he stayed on in 2016, where there was no question about what his focus on policy was, and he needs to get back to that, and he needs to be the Trump that we all fell in love with and voted for in 2016. So, yeah, the election, the media will have you think the election is over there. There's a long way between now and the election, and again, I still believe that the Democrats can't win, but Trump can lose.
Very well stated. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please. You're on the air. Quickly.
Yes, well, you wonder who's advising Trump. I mean, he did what he did, I think, on his own with his sons. I don't know why he's hesitant. It bothers me. Another point quickly, and then I'll be done. Candace Owens, who is outspoken, I don't know if you know her or not, but you guys are in the same side. And Dave Chappelle threatened to mutilate her. That's what he said he wanted to do to her. And it was just terrible. And you say to yourself, what a disgraceful thing to say. Of course, I never liked Dave Chappelle anyway, but still, Candace Owens doesn't deserve that. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. No one deserves to be attacked personally or threatened with violence. I agree with him on that 100%. But again, it's up to us to not count on liberalism, Zeb. And again, we can't just sit back and count on the federal courts and the Supreme Court to back us up, because that's not working out too well. Each person must do something within their own power, Zeb, and just do the little that they can do. And guess what? If enough of us do a little bit, guess what? We can accomplish a whole lot.
I couldn't agree more. I look forward every single time you're available to come on this program, and I thank you. Raynard Jackson, God bless you, President and CEO of Raynard Jackson and Associates. Please come back in the near future. Thank you so much.
Will do. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Have a lot of respect for that man. And everything that he has written in this last note about a liberal dose of sports is absolutely the truth. We've got to stop this sleaze. We have got to stop this sleaze. Time for the weather. And the weather this hour, my goodness sakes, I'm running late again. Brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Delicious Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew. Oh, my goodness sakes. They're located over at 331 North Road, Jerome. And the telephone number to give them a call, 324-7657. You know, now the summertime, come on. We got to get outside. We got to be with our families. We got to do things. And you got to get the old Barbie out and put stuff on the grill. Well, they've got it all. They've got all the different flavors of bacon and all the pork chops and all the hams and everything, and they've got the tri-tips and the bratwurst. They've got all kinds of different flavors. I urge you to give them a call or stop over at 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, Scarro's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Few scattered rain showers for today, then by tomorrow and for the rest of the week, it's going to be warming up. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Scattered rain showers and thunderstorms off and on throughout the day. We are expecting mostly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 30 miles an hour. Tonight, that's going to be tapering off. Still going to be a little bit breezy with a low of 45. Tomorrow, sunny skies and highs right around 74. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. By Thursday, sunny skies and mid-80s for Friday, and looks like close to 90 for 4th of July Saturday. That's what's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you again by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarro's Meats. Great meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. You can go to their website and see all the great meats available, scarrowsmeats.com. Don't forget, Scarro's Meats, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I just want to touch on this story because this stupidity is going to rein in a lot of the people being able to probably get into Yellowstone Park and see the animals. I'm not saying you should get out of your car and try to pet the animals, like a 72-year-old California woman was gored and injured multiple times by a bison at Yellowstone National Park. And where do these people not think? This woman was 72 years old. You'd think she had the common sense by that time to realize these are, quote-unquote, wild animals, and she tried to go up and pet the bison and take a picture. She got within 10 feet, and he had enough, and now it makes everything in the park with wild animals and everything look bad, and they're not. It's the idiocy and stupidity of people getting out of their vehicles and trying to, oh, what a pretty little animal. No, they're wild animals. And this woman not smart enough to realize that. I want to remind you about our major sponsor, and I am so proud they're back in full swing on our show, and we appreciate them. And with all the tires, and I mean all the tires, all the sizes for all the vehicles, cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, oh my, you don't want to be going ka-thump down the highway. Get your good tires on your vehicles from the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget, they have a free pre-trip safety check for those of you that are taking a big run with the family. You know, they'll check the tire inspection, tire pressure, visual wheel alignment to make sure you're not kind of going north when you should be going south, all this kind of thing. And they'll check the brake components and a visual inspection of shocks and struts, visual battery inspection, all of that, and it's free. Holy smokes, you better get in there today. Who do you see? Well, I'll tell you. James over in Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, and, of course, the Twist family over in Paul, and my old buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. They are the best 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. Thank you very much. All right, what have we got cooking in the crock pot for tomorrow? Let's take a look. We got some home run hitters. Dave Beagle's going to be on. Alex McFarland, great Christian author, is going to be on. Vince Ellison, nobody, I don't think, tells it like Vince does. He's mad, he's upset about what's going on in our country, and he's going to share his thoughts with us. And then at 10:30, I get a chance to talk to some dear, dear friends of mine down in Elko, Nevada, and that's, of course, with the Silver State Stampede. All of that coming up on tomorrow's program. Okay. Let me see. Is there anything I forgot? I got to check around at my desk. If you saw my desk, you would say, it's worth checking because there's a lot of things that are in disarray right here this morning. Let's see. I talked about that. I think we're all done. I'm going to remind you that we'll be back here again tomorrow at 8:06. Now, we're live, of course, on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and then streaming live all over the internet. All you have to do is go to zebbell.com. And I urge you, we've got a super internet audience. Thank you, everybody, for your kind remarks. And just go to zebbell.com. Thank you very much. And like I said, we always wrap the program up by saying the way things were are the way things ought to be. We got to get back to some values. And I always end with the 4 words that mean the most to me: in God we trust. Have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. God bless.